Okay, I felt like doing another uh, what is it? Tier list. So, I'm gonna do Final Fantasy this time, and of course, people are gonna hate my opinion, and I don't care because fuck you. Um, so Final Fantasy One. Let's start there. I like this game. It does have its fault, like you have to overgrind too much, and when I played it originally, when it first came out way back in the 80s, it my memory flashed on me and deleted my data, and there was only one save spot, so I was really pissed off and I stopped playing it because of that. But I do like Final Fantasy. I do like the first Final Fantasy game. Now, I never played 2 and I never played 3, so we're just going to skip those. We're going to go to 4. Where's 4? That's... Yeah, here we are. 4. This is easily one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. I I'm a fan of more of the linear Final Fantasy games with the linear stories and stuff like that. And without like a whole bunch of extra side stuff that you have to do. Like there's some side stuff you can do in this, but um, not a whole lot. And I think it was just right. And in terms of difficulty, it was just right. Um, I like it so much that I actually bought the like Super Famicom version not too long ago because I wanted to have it again. Um, so um, and because I know the game backwards and forwards, the game is like super easy now compared to when I played it way back in the day. It was harder, but that's because I know how to level grind and I know where to level grind, and things change. Um, now um, I will talk about the after. So Final Fantasy the after. I don't like this very much. And part of the reason why, well, I'll say the good things first. I thought that them breaking into stories with each different group of characters. So Edge has his own little group of ninja that he's built back up from Eblana. Young he's now the king of Favel, and he's got his daughter. Um, Edward has his own little story, and Golbeza has his story. I thought that was really interesting. The problem was that I thought that the game itself was, I thought, especially, was it Theodore's scenario was way too hard. Like, like there's like it required you to grind really really hard at a point in the game where it you shouldn't have to have grinded that much. um I thought that and I never bothered finishing it because I just got tired of it. And then and I was playing it on mobile when it first came out, so I have a different perspective on this because I did play it on the mobile version, not the PSP, set with Final Fantasy IV. I have that too, but I played the original mobile game, and I was paying to download the extra scenarios. So, and I got kind of tired of that. So, um, I I liked the idea of what they were going for, but I thought that having Cecil get brainwashed by the evil character was out of character for Cecil, especially after he went through the trial to become a paladin and to rid himself of the darkness. I thought that was what Square Enix did to screw with Cecil's story really pissed me off. Um, and I thought that they just wanted to cash in on the IP, just to shut people up about a Final Fantasy VII remake. Um, and so I'm not happy about the after. Um, Final Fantasy V. Love this game. This game is just absolutely amazing. I love Final Fantasy V. My two favorites are 4 and 5. So, and 5, like, it doesn't have a love story really, but the comedy is there. And you know, I think that the battle system was well made. It was better than Dragon Quest Seven. Oh God, Dragon Quest Seven battle system or job system was absolutely awful. That was horrible. That was a grind fest. This, I mean, the Final Fantasy Five battle job system rather is grindy, but not like Dragon Quest Seven. If anybody has played Dragon Quest Seven, you'll understand. I like Dragon Quest Seven. I never finished it because the grindiness of the job system drove me crazy. But that setting that aside, Five's job system worked really well. The characters were interesting. X Death was a brutal last boss. I really think, like, as much as people bitch and moan about him being a tree or something like that, it's like, I don't see what the problem is with that. And he wanted to just to destroy the world, so he was very one dimensional. Sorry, it's after midnight here. He is one dimensional, but I like my one dimensional characters, and I I mean that's just because the era I grew up in. I was playing these older games. I didn't play Final Fantasy V too much later, but these types of games where they were much more linear, you didn't have as much like open territory to go through. And there wasn't a whole bunch of extra stuff to do. I thought that 5 was a really good game. And 6, people might not like me putting it down here, but I'm 6 is a special game. Okay. I like the fact there's a lot of characters. I like that there's some, you know, I like the fact that Gogo is now a playable character versus just being a minor character in Final Fantasy V, where you just get the mimic job. Um, so I do like having Gogo as a party member. I do like having Mog, but I think that they put too many characters with a limited amount of space, and they couldn't give you background on enough of the characters. I think they gave you background with Cayenne. They gave you background with in the dream sequences anyway with Shadow and Realm. um, Locke, Tina, and a bit of Edgar and Mash. But I thought that, and Gao too, but Gao didn't get much of his story developed until, the after the end of the world. I thought Celis not getting enough background to her story. I was disappointed in that because I like her. I know that the thing I do like is that the first half of the game is basically Tina being the main character, and then it switches over to Celis for the world after the end of the world, basically. But I there's just too many characters. Having Umaro there, just it's such a useless character. And they just did that to put it in there for no reason. I think they just that there wasn't enough space to expand on the characters enough to give all of them proper background stories. So I thought that made it weak. People like Kefka. Is a final boss. I I like that he's a psychopath because that's kind of unusual in the Final Fantasy, final boss category. He's definitely different. Um, but I'm not the biggest Kefka fan, so that's why I lower it here. Now, anything after 6, I don't consider a Final Fantasy game. So um, fuck everything after 6. But the last two that I played are Final Science Fiction 7 and 8. And I will not call them fantasy because they're not fantasy, they're science fiction at this point. And I don't like 7. And I don't like 8 either. Um, and I didn't play any of the ones after that, so this is where it's going to end with me. But I will discuss 7 first. It is the most overrated game ever. I don't care what anybody says. You can downvote me all you want. I think 7 is a basic game that got way too much publicity for what it was. It wasn't that special, but people want to think it was special. And I remember when it first came out. I remember when the sales came out, and I remember when like Street Fighter 2 first came out for Super Nintendo in the United States. To me, the Street Fighter 2 release was a lot bigger to me than Final Fantasy 7, because you couldn't find Street Fighter 2 anywhere. Final Fantasy 7 you could still kind of find it. I pre-ordered mine at the time, but I really, really, really don't like 7. I think the most interesting character is Vincent, but he's an optional character. I think Cloud is a stupid emo. I think, Aerith was a plot device, and I didn't really like that very much. I wish you could have found a way to bring her back. There were rumors at the time that there were ways to bring her back to life in the later parts of the game, and there's like an extra story or something. That was just a rumor, it wasn't true, and that really bothered me. I didn't find the game that interesting. And even going back and playing Final Fantasy VII International, I went out of my way to buy it, and I went to play through it again, and it just wasn't fun. I wasn't interested in it. So and I remember specifically because I got it, and then I went from the middle of disc 1 to the final dungeon within 2 days, and that was playing one day. I played it 17 hours. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy 7, and I don't care if anybody bashes me for it, because fuck Final Fantasy 7. It is the most overrated game in the series. Final Fantasy 8 I don't like because I was playing it again a little bit. I got to the end of disc 1, but the thing I don't like about Final Science Fiction 8 is that, like, the one character I liked the most was Laguna. And he only comes in dream sequences, and he was never a playable character. And that pissed me off. That made me so angry. And on top of that, it was one of the first games I got in Japanese. So I was still, I couldn't read, I could barely read any kanji at the time. Now, this also has a connection to the Tales series, because I bought Final Fantasy VIII from a local store that was an importer. I got to disc 4, and the CD had been scratched up like crazy in, I guess when they were making the CD in Japan. Or it may have gotten scratched during the shipping over from Japan to the US. And so I was never able to finish it at the time. And so they gave me store credit. So what I did is I got Tales of Phantasia for PS1. I got Wild Arms 2, and I think I paid a little extra to get Street Fighter 03 or something like that. I forget exactly. So I ended up losing out on Final Fantasy VIII because I couldn't get any more copies in of it because it was sold out over in Japan at the time because it was right when it was released. And so I could get Tales of Fantasia and Wild Arms 2 out of it. Much happier with Tales of Fantasia and Wild Arms 2. I'll just say that. They're much better games than Final Science Fiction 8. And that's where I'm going to stop this because I didn't play any of the others, and I don't care to play any of the others, and I never will play any of the others. Maybe 2 or 3 at some point, but no plans to because I am tired of I am tired of Square Enix. I just don't want to play any more of their games. After what they did to Estebalista Denki and the way they ruined Maxim and the DS version of that game was just so awful. That game pissed me off. I was so angry about that game. So I don't play, Square games anymore. And then that's why I stick mostly to old games. Like, of course, these are all pretty old, but except for this one, really. But I don't, I have no interest in playing any more of the Final Fantasy games because Final Science Fiction 7 and 8 just, no, stop. I just, no, forget it. So, that's the end of this list. I'm getting sleepy, so I'm gonna go to bed. So, see you in the next video.